All right, find all the zeros of the function. So we've been dealing with complex zeros today, or complex numbers, right? And so you might expect going into this, we're going to see some complex solutions. So I don't see anything obvious that will factor out of it. I do, though, notice third degree polynomial. So we should expect 3 zeros or 3 factors going into this, right? So let's go to our calculator. Let's go graph it, and let's see what comes up. So x cubed, remember we're doing this to look for a nice zero, and it's a cubic, so it's got to cross the x-axis somewhere. And let's go, in fact, let's just graph it. I'll just show you what we're looking at here. So notice it does only cross one place, so that means there's one real zero, 2 complex zeros, 2 imaginary ones we're going to find. So let's go look at our table real quick and see what we see there. And it does have a 0 at x equals 2, so x equals 2. So, kind of like we did before, from graph, x equals 2, or we could say x equals 2 from the graph. So that's our starting place. What do we do with that? Well, synthetic division. So let's go divide that factor out. So 2, remember we're just listing the coefficients here. And we're not missing any, so we don't need any zeros for placeholders. Bring that first one down, multiply, bring it up, and add. And let's do it again. Okay, there's that remainder 0 we would expect. So this is a quadratic that's left behind. X squared minus 2x plus 2. So when we divided this factor out, x minus 2, which would give us x equals 2 for a 0, right? This is what's left behind. So now we want to solve that quadratic. Well, this is a great one to complete the square on. You could go use the quadratic formula if you want. I'm going to complete the square. So x squared minus 2x plus something equals negative 2. What goes in my box here? Well, half of the middle term. So half of 2 is 1 squared, so still a 1. And then add it to both sides. This will now factor to x minus 1 squared equals negative 1. We're ready to take the square root of both sides. So x minus 1 equals plus or minus I. Notice square root of negative 1 is going to be I. And so x equals 1 plus or minus I. And then, of course, we also had that 2 that we found from our calculator. There is our solution. Again, very similar to what we did before, just when we got to our quadratic, it had imaginary solutions. But the process, exactly the same.